Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF44 coming at you with another video. So, no update on the Schroeder information today. Well, that's not entirely true. The last time I talked to you guys, we were talking about how the Schroeder was talking to the Boston Celtics, as it seemed like they were the only really viable destination that would be right for all parties in the entire league for himself. I kind of figured that out about 2 weeks ago, and I said, you know what? I think everybody else is going to come around to figuring this out as well, and they did. About 2 days later, my prediction came true. Boston was the only team he ended up talking to, as I predicted. I'm not a genius. It was nowhere else he could go. It was literally nowhere else. It was that or the Thunder. That was all I could figure out, unless teams did some shuffling around just to make him part of what they're doing. But what he has run into is a imperfect storm. It's a complete opposite of a perfect storm. It's everything going wrong at once. It's his performance that we last saw him in, which was a result of him being out of sorts from COVID. And you've probably heard me say this about 8 or 9 times. I made a million videos on this. But he's also found himself in a situation where, because of when he went out, he came back to a team that wasn't the same team he left from, because LeBron had gone down, AD was going down. It was a lot of turmoil in regards to our roster as it pertained to just, guys being on the floor and being healthy. We had the insertion of Drummond into the team, removal of Harrell from the lineup. That affects Schroeder in some ways as well, because it slowed the pace down entirely. He's much better when he's playing at a faster pace, and much better when players around him have energy. And Drummond was kind of a guy that slowed us down, slowed the pace down, and just made it difficult. So when Schroeder went out, Harrell was the center. When Schroeder came back, Drummond was the center, and Harrell wasn't in there at all. So the team had changed. No LeBron. Now, mind you, it's just so much going on with the team that, because of how he's set up to where he doesn't play any defense, he's not a passing player as well. If he's not scoring the ball and being aggressive, driving and stuff like that, he's not really as effective. So what needs to be around him is the stable environment of good defenders, shot blocking, facilitating, and all of that stuff. And it was just in complete flux. He was coming back and was in a slump because of his disappearance from with COVID for a week or so, not within his control at all. And when he came back, he was just not himself. The team wasn't itself, and as a result, it was all bad. We got knocked out in the first round. He played poorly all the way through the playoffs. The first round was only as far as we got, and now everybody remembers that. And then you have the other aspect of it, with Homeboy asking for more money than he should be getting, not firing his representation, which was the biggest mistake of all, and then proceeding to let free agency play itself out as it has without him getting any real offers. That was on him. He should have fired his representation. And I know this is one of those situations where it's like, I'm talking into the phone, but nobody's actually aware of me yet. This channel hasn't grown. But for the sake of the message itself, it would have been wonderful if he could have heard my commentary, because I believe I was saying certain things that I wasn't hearing no one else say in regards to like some of the main media and stuff like that. What I was trying to express to everyone was, it's so important that he fires representation, even if it was his idea to inflate his value, because what you're essentially saying is that your representation failed to advise you properly, and as a result have you looking crazy. That's what you have to sell to the market, because if you don't do that, then essentially it shows that you're not taking the advice of your counsel, and you're even more so toxic than just the situation itself appears to be. It's not just somebody who's been, railroaded by bad advice. This is somebody who ignored good advice that he paid for, right? Because you're paying your representation to represent you. It's like ignoring your lawyers. You paying them all this money, and they tell you what to do, and you do the opposite. It's like, that speaks to your ability to function properly. Like, your employer is going to look at that and say, okay, he's not a good decision maker. So if I bring him into this locker room, where does that end and where does that begin? Is that just as it pertains to how he believes himself to be financially? Or is he going to come in here thinking he's Allen Iverson, right? Is he going to come in here believing that he deserves to start when I'm asking him to do a bench role at this stage of his career? Or is he going to be somebody who's going to create problems? Is there something we need to be concerned with that he's dealing with? Like, these are the type of things that, it's not that you question these things necessarily as it pertains to believing that there may be a problem, because this is a tricky thing that happens in regards to business. It's not that. It's that the argument can be made for the fact that you may be off balance. And as a result, I can bring the value down. Because it's all about, for me, it's all about paying for you at a discount. I don't give a damn what the truth is. If I can get the perfect player for pennies on the dollar, I'm going to do that. If Steph Curry wants to sign a 5-year, $20 million deal with Golden State, they will sign him to that. You understand what I'm saying? Now, they look crazy for doing so, but what I'm saying to you is, any way value can be obtained is the responsibility of the purchasing party. You have a responsibility to your business, to your representatives, to your shareholders, whatever your business is, whatever your thing is in the NBA, to your fan base, to the ownership yourself. You have a responsibility to get the best bargain at all times. Why? Because you're always working at a limited budget. If there was no such thing as the salary cap, then it could be a situation where we're looking at it and say, well, we give leeway. Now we're in a situation where we're talking about blessing people with gifts, blessing people with leverage that they don't have, doing favors for people, doing the right thing. All of that becomes into play because there's an unlimited amount of money for which you can pay players, for which you can build your team and all that. But when you're only given $250 million or more or less, or whatever the salary cap for the particular year is, it's your responsibility to try to shave as much value as possible from each and every player to fit the best possible team together within that budget. So I'm not going to be giving a guy like Dennis Schroeder his true value at all if I can get away with it. And if he gives me any ammunition to do that, whether it be his decision making, stuff going on in his lifestyle outside the court, the way that he played or lack thereof, the last time we saw him, I don't give a dang if he's been an all-star for 8 years straight. If the last time I saw him before the season ended with him scoring 0 points and doing nothing at all, his value's plummeting. It's a freaking payday. It's a free agency season. The last visual we see of you as an average to good player cannot be all of this coming together. All of this you can't be playing bad and asking for too much, and in response to seeing how that plays out, not react to it properly. It's just, they're offering him $5.9 million at this point. And the reports are that he is stunned, that this took him off guard, that he's shocked, he can't believe this. You know what I mean? And it's like, this is no one's fault but his. And he needs to just kind of take this one on the chin. There's no one to be mad at, I guess, if you're Dennis Schroeder. I think, like, in my mind, the way that I would want to respond to this, if I'm not being smart, I'm just angry. I want to sign with the Nets for $1 million and I'm coming back blazing. I don't care about nothing. I just want to get to a team that I can show the NBA that I am as good as I believe myself to be. That's the only mission Dennis Schroeder should be on. 1-year deal for little money. They're offering you 5, take 1. You need to make a statement, because we can't lose sight of what the athlete is trying to accomplish here. Even though he's mistaken in what it is that he's doing and the way that he's going about managing within the environment he's in is poor, his gripe is a prideful one, and it's not necessarily something he should bow away from. I just think that he should adjust his thinking as it pertains to how you promote that confidence. In other words, Dennis Schroeder believes himself to be a $150 million player. He's only shown us that he's an $80 million player. It ain't nothing wrong with him believing he's a $150 million player. The problem is you haven't proven that you're an $150 million player. See, believing in yourself and providing the evidence of that belief being valid is two very different things. But that confidence is valuable within yourself because you can reach the level that you want to reach because you already have it in mind that you're that. So you don't want to shake that you don't want to start saying I'm an $80 million player. Because you didn't drive yourself to being an $80 million player by thinking like an $80 million player. You drove yourself to being an $80 million player by thinking you were a $150 million player. That's what drove you. You see what I'm saying? It's just like I look at, and I could be wrong about this, but that's my theory about KD. KD goes in the comment section. KD claps back at people. KD involves himself in conversations of that would otherwise offend him. He gets involved and claps back at people because he feeds off of that offensive energy. He feeds off of that hate. He feeds off of that. It drives him. That's my theory. It don't have to be true. But that's what I sense from him, that he's driven by that. Just like Michael Jordan was driven by competition. Kobe Bryant was driven by inner goals and levels that he wanted to reach that didn't have nothing to do with anybody else's levels for himself. Everybody is driven by different things. I think Dennis Schroeder is driven by crazy confidence. Crazy, immeasurable, irrational, inflated value. So I would tell him to keep believing in it, but you have to play the game you're in. Just because your mind works a certain way, you got to be able to see yourself, how you are and what drives you, and then be able to separate that, hire the people that can help you work away from that. And what I mean by work away from that is you got to work around yourself. I know I'm a crazy person who believes I'm worth $150 million. I need to make sure the people around me are people that I trust to control me in that regard so that we can get the most money rather than allow something like this to happen. And these are the type of things that you just hope an athlete would have people around him to help him understand that. He's not the first irrationally confident athlete. He's not the first guy who didn't understand the salary cap. He's not the first guy who didn't understand leverage. He's not the first guy who didn't understand his place in this league. But it's the responsibility of not only him to take in the information that's around, but also for the people around him to make sure that he's getting that information. So I don't know whose fault is what. I haven't heard anything from Dennis Schroeder, which is also something I've been saying a lot on this channel. That I'm open to the idea that he's being railroaded completely because I haven't heard him say anything at all. And we're kind of running with what people are saying he's saying, which is a dangerous thing. But he hasn't come out and said he didn't say anything. In a situation like this, I think at the very least, a cryptic LeBron-like tweet saying I didn't say anything is the way to go, coupled with firing your representation so that they don't have you looking crazy, or you don't have yourself looking crazy by not following their advice. You gotta put the onus on them to say that they were mistaken. You have to. That's what I'm trying to say. You have to place blame. You have to pass the buck. You have to throw your representation under the bus. You have to. It's not a pretty thing. It's not the best ethical thing to do, especially when it's your fault. Your values is high. But if you're trying to fix the problem, you're trying to stop the bleeding, you're trying to keep it so that people are not just, lowballing you to the ground, this is the move that needs to be made. But it's too late now. It's too late. He needed to do this and 35 to 45 minutes within to the first day of free agency. When it became very, very clear that he wasn't nowhere near getting the money or the offers, and he started seeing players fly off the board, he should have made an announcement. I don't know the right way to make this announcement, but he should have made some type of announcement that his representation is no longer going to be who he's working with, that he is immediately looking for fresh representation to help facilitate him through this process. I think if he would have done that, I think he would have been able to manage the situation and be able to get double of what he's being offered right now. I think he could have probably walked away with 10. Right now, he's lucky to get 5-9 is what Boston's offering him. Obviously, he should take that. He's sitting here saying, no, I don't want to take that. I want 9, according to the media. If that is indeed true, he hasn't learned anything. The people around him are not doing a good job of reeling him in, of stopping this process from him harming himself in regards to his value. You're hurting yourself. That's what you say to a guy like Dennis Schroeder. Like, forget everything, bro. You're hurting yourself. Because what you're doing is you're putting yourself in a position to not just get lowballed this year, but people are gonna come back and remember, oh, this guy, yeah, they're gonna play you. They're gonna play you next year too. They're gonna play you the next time. And that's why a guy like Dennis Schroeder is like, look, I hate to say what it looks like, but it looks like he's just gonna be the guy that falls on the sword for this example to finally be etched in our minds. Like, I don't think this is going to end well for him as far as his career is concerned. Because for the rest of his career, he's going to be playing from behind the 8 ball. His coaches are going to be looking at him a certain way. Ownership's going to be looking at him a certain way. It didn't work with the Lakers. You turned down an $84 million contract for 4 years with the Lakers. That reverberates around the league. Because if you don't sign that deal, how can Milwaukee feel good about offering you 84? How could Sacramento feel good about offering you 84? How could New York feel good about offering you 84? If the freaking cream of the crop, best franchise in all of basketball offers you a deal that is probably overpaying for your services, and you not only say nah, but then come back and insult them by asking for what it is that you're asking for. So yeah, if you're shocked, I would say you have done a very good job at giving us the blueprint for destroying your value. You should write a book on it, man. You're the best I've ever seen at this, without having any real injury or any real no off the court drama, no offense, social offensive stuff. For you to not have any of those issues, you sure found a way to destroy your value, man. It's uncanny. It's almost like you forget this guy can play. You know how many people were signed that ain't nowhere near as good as Dennis Schroeder? Not even anywhere near as good as Dennis Schroeder. With respect to some of these guys who are specialists, I look at guys like Reggie Bullock. Reggie Bullock's not as good as Dennis Schroeder, fam. He's not. Evan Fournier, they're good at what they do. But that Dennis Schroeder could have got those contracts, man. He hurt himself by opening his mouth, or rather not speaking in this case. And of course, not firing his representation. I feel sorry for him, but I'm encouraged by the fact that there are many, many, many people watching him right now. Just like in any example of any kind, there are many people watching who will take notes and will not make the mistake of Dennis Schroeder. Let this be the Dennis Schroeder effect. Any and all situations going forward, if you're in business and you overinflate your value when the circumstance requires that those who are in position to pay you hold a budget, when you do something like that and you know that budget is limited, you sit up here asking for half the budget when you don't provide a fourth of the production, whew, you're insulting people. That's what you're doing. You're insulting people and you're destroying yourself in regards to the business. Period. So that's what I got. This isn't a new topic, unfortunately. I do expect Dennis Schroeder to take that 5'9", even though he's still trying to building up to 9. It's not happening. And I'll say something else. This is the truth. Not going to be a popular thing to say, but it's just what's on my mind. When you allow yourself to surround yourself with people who are putting an emphasis on you to provide a great deal of luxury that you can't provide, right? I don't know if this is Dennis Schroeder's case, so I'm removing Dennis Schroeder from it entirely, but this type of circumstance can be why something like this happens. A guy like Dennis Schroeder, move him out of the situation, but just anybody else. When you have people around you or a significant other in your life that is crazy about the bag, who you provide $30 million, they want a $150 million lifestyle, you may end up doing something like this. To where you know damn well you can't do this, but you're going to aim for the most possible money. Because at the end of the day, you're trying to please the people around you rather than make yourself whole. You're trying to keep that person in your life rather than make your situation go smoothly. I don't know if this applies to anybody at all, but it's just something that came to mind. We got to be careful about who we allow in our surroundings, who we allow close to us, who we allow to help sway us in what it is that we ask for business-wise. You can't do this type of thing because you're trying to keep that type of person. It don't work, man. Live within your means. Be who you are. Dennis Schroeder is not LeBron James. He's not going to be able to do the things LeBron James can do. He ain't going to be able to impress in the ways that LeBron James can. It's not fair. It's just life. So if there's anything that would push you to living beyond your means, or something that would make you act irrationally in the name of trying to get something for somebody else's pleasure or somebody else's approval, you're probably going to find yourself heading down the wrong path. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, my name is BDF44. Thank y'all for watching. I'm out.